Joining us from Miami is Republican Senator Marco Rubio. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Elizabeth.
Certainly, you're offering up a solution which you'd put forward next week in front of all to delay the individual mandate based on the fact that you can't even log on to the website, correct?
Right. So let me explain the situation. I think viewers of your show are probably well aware of it. Next year, everyone will be required to purchase health insurance. If you don't, you're going to owe the IRS money. That's called the individual mandate. One of the ways that that becomes available, according to this brilliant idea called Obamacare, is to make these exchanges available online, but they're not working. So how are you going to go after people next year using the IRS to punish them if the thing you're forcing them to buy isn't available for them to buy because the website's not working? You know, Consumer Reports yesterday warned people to stay off the websites until they figure this out. So the law I'm going to introduce basically delays that requirement until the General Accounting Office has certified that it's been up and running and effectively working for 6 months consecutive. And I think that's a prudent approach given the problems that it's facing by the White House's own admission.
Sure. Senator, what did you make of the president yesterday? You know, they had put out in the morning that the president, you know, in the interest of transparency, it's going to be a mea culpa. He's going to say he's sorry. As it turns out, he didn't say he was sorry that the website has stunk up the place. Instead, he said he was frustrated and he was mad and called the phone line instead. You know, essentially, it was an infomercial.
Yeah, that's right. The fact is there is no transparency. They're not sharing accurate numbers as to how well or not well it's working, how many people have actually been able to enroll in insurance and receive it or not. They're not being transparent, which is just adding more and more doubt to this entire process. They've argued now that they're going to have this tech surge, or they're going to bring all these experts in to fix these websites. They won't tell us who exactly they're bringing in, and they won't tell us how much they're spending on it. Yeah. So I think, you know, what they're worried about is increased criticism of the law if they actually open it up and show people all the ugly things that are going on in the implementation. But I think it's proving to be quite counterproductive.
I think, too, the president said we got to stop having people cheer for its failure. I think that's also somewhat of a distraction. But, Senator, first off, people want to know how this happened. They had a test run the week before, and it failed miserably. The president was telling us October 1st was going to be fine. So in the big picture, you're in charge. Does someone get fired? Does someone get a 30 days to get this done? Where do you go from here?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. First of all, certainly someone needs to be held accountable for the decisions that were made that led to this. Clearly, I mean, one of the reasons why this is happening is because they ignored the advice of experts who told them it wasn't ready. They also made a decision that hasn't been highly talked about, but I think has been critical to the failure of these websites. They decided that people would not be able to navigate the website and look for prices and options until they enrolled first. In essence, they had to give their name, their social security number, all those sorts of things. They were trying to capture information. And the consultants warned the White House that was going to be a problem, and they ignored that, and they went forward. Someone should be held accountable for that as well.
Is that person, Senator, in your opinion, Kathleen Sebelius? I mean, you've called for her to be fired?
You know, it might be, but first we need to have her fully testify in front of the Congressional Committee, which I think she's agreed to do next week or this Thursday. I'm not sure if the date's been arrived at. And then once she gives that testimony, we'll know a lot more about what role she played in making these decisions. But I would certainly say to you that her resignation could potentially be an option here, particularly as we learn more about who was it that was making these horrible decisions that led to this horrible outcome.
Sure. I mean, conventional wisdom is, you know, this reflects poorly on the President of the United States. You know, did he not ask the right questions? He had Kathleen Sebelius running things there at that particular department. But, Senator, you know how this administration works. We saw it with the IRS scandal. We saw it with Benghazi. You know, there's an investigation. A little while later, rather than taking the people who are ultimately responsible, they find somebody in the middle, some low-level people. They put them on leave for a little while, and then 6 months later, they rehire them to do some other job.
And certainly somebody should be held accountable, and eventually that might be the secretary. But in the interim, the reality is that millions of Americans next year are going to be pursued and punished by the IRS if they don't buy health insurance. But the way they're supposed to buy it isn't working, and that's just not fair.
Senator, what does this mean for the president's agenda? He wants to do immigration. You were in the gang that came up with a program that's got through the Senate. It's now waiting in the House. How do you feel now about passing immigration?
Well, first of all, I think we need to be realistic about it. You know, we've been lectured now for the better part of a month about how my side needed to be realistic about what was possible on Obamacare because the president controlled the White House, the Democrats controlled the Senate. Now I think it's time for proponents of immigration reform to be realistic about what's achievable on immigration. And the reality of it is that this idea that somehow the House is just going to fold and take up the Senate bill and pass it is also a fool's errand, to use a quote that's been thrown around lately. The reality of it is there is a lot that Americans agree on immigration. We should pursue the things we agree on and do what we can to make progress. And the other issues might take more time. But ultimately, the decision Democrats need to make is immigration reform about solving a problem, or is it about using it as a political weapon to win elections? If it's about solving a problem, they'll look for ways to make progress by finding common ground with Republicans.
Well, there are plenty of problems with the Affordable Care Act website right now, and that's why you're introducing next week in the Senate a plan to delay by 6 months the individual mandate until the website is up and running.
Yeah.
Senator Marco Rubio joined us from the beautiful city of Miami. Sir, thank you very much for joining us live today.
Thank you.